All right, we're live. I gotta turn the music up apparently. So, welcome everyone to TableTalk, where we talk all things tabletop. I'm your host, the Battle Gamer, and as you can see by the Nurgle counter behind me here, we don't have an Alex. He is sick again because he's a loser. So instead, I'm joined by now frequent guest, Sir Peanut Butter.
Hello everyone, it's your resident substitute teacher. Mr. Glue Boy has left me with some notes to go over with you guys in today's class. We are just going to be watching Nemo, but in Spanish.
So today we're going to be talking about all things the Tian character guide, talking about some of the stuff that I've already gone over in the videos, and as well, if there's any questions y'all have about what's in the book currently, we'll go over some of that stuff today. I should also tweet out that we're essentially doing a QA. 1 second, let me do that. Hashtag Pathfinder2E. Hashtag Tian character guide. Alright. All set, all done. We have the Tian character guide. And I guess while we're waiting for some people to hop in, we did a stream last week, right? Yeah. You know, it's been crazy. I've literally... So I got Tian character guide, I think, Friday. So I didn't even know what was going to be in it, since why are kobolds the best ancestry? Because they're just little guys. That's all you need to know, is they're just little guys.
Kobolds are not the best ancestry.
There's an ancestry you want to know more about, but you forgot the name. Also, hi, Keenan. Just about to watch your cooking video. Yeah, the cooking video, cooking's really hype. I'm actually so hyped about the cooking that just came out. Which Pathfinder ancestry makes the best little guys? Tanukis, kobolds, goblins.
I have a bone to pick with kobolds. And goblins are getting close. I think the best little guys, not including Tian Xia, because they haven't had enough time to make their splash in the world of little guys, is actually the little... What are they called now? They used to be Gripplies. Little frog guys.
Oh, Tripkeys.
Yeah. Or everyone's overlooking the classic gnome. I think gnomes have a unique position in the little guy camp where they can be little guys but also just be real people.
we can respect gnomes a little bit more.
Yes. Gnomes have earned my respect. The others have earned my ire. I will come for them when they least expect it.
I think leshies are my favorite little guys, to be honest. They just are so wild, and they can do some funny things. I love that gourd leshies can just use their head like an extra bag.
It's true. Leshies are cool.
Do Tanukis have a ability for gigantic balls? You know, I don't know if they put that in. I will see. Let me check real quick. I think Paizo's gonna be some cowards though, and not introduce the ability to use your balls as a giant parachute.
Yeah, Paizo isn't that hard committed to all this stuff. You know, they should be.
They are indeed cowards. There's nothing testicle related here.
Paizo, you've done it again. You've taken out the best part of a race. Yakshas are hype.
Yaksha are really cool. So Yaksha are essentially a ancestry that gives themselves some additional edicts for like just things they have to do in exchange for some power, which makes them very interesting because it's a lot harder to play an evil or unholy Yaksha because many of their heritages straight up just require you do good things. Granted, if you take a versatile heritage, then you just get the benefit of being a Yaksha without it.
But that opens up a fun possibility of really wanting to be evil, but then being physically unable to overlook evil acts in your presence.
That is fun, actually. That is kind of interesting. They've been given a lot of stuff, a lot of very interesting abilities. They have 4 armed aspects once per day as an action. They sprout an additional pair of arms. For the next minute, you can carry 3 more bulk than normal before becoming encumbered, and 6 more bulk before becoming, or for your maximum bulk. You can also use these arms as free hands to perform only the following activities: disarm, grapple, shove, and trip. After this minute, or when you become unconscious, whichever comes first, these additional arms fade away. So I'm surprised because Paizo's been very, very against like adding extra arms for doing anything. But now, if you're a 2-handed weapon wielder, you no longer need to release your weapon to do a lot of these actions. You can just have extra arms for the purpose of disarm, grapple, shove, and trip. That's actually really, really hype.
That is cool. I feel like they were like, we're doing it in Starfinder. We might as well try it out here.
Well, and it's
see how extra arms work best.
It's not even necessarily like extra arms, actually. You still have to spend an action, but you can spend an action to swap to another 2-handed weapon, which you can still actually do. So yeah, I don't know. They didn't really do much with it.
Probably just trying to sort of experiment with them at this point to figure out what the best way to do extra arms is.
Yeah. I just think that, like, balance-wise, extra arms breaks the idea of the balance they want. So it's just like, what can you do? Which wins the edgiest boy? Fetchling, Strix, Nephilim, or Hunger Seed? Hunger Seed by a mile. Hunger Seed, for you, Booter, by the way, is the half Oni ancestor or heritage they added, versatile heritage.
That's hype.
They're definitely the edgiest. They just look like tieflings, honestly. They get big, they get powers that are based around either being bloodied, bloodying other people, and they also could just get like cool Oni powers.
That's pretty hype. I don't think Fetchling's even that edgy, but that's probably just me being tainted by my own Fetchling, who is super not edgy.
Hunger Seed definitely does not have the fear of beans like normal Oni do, which is silly. but it makes a lot of sense.
They're just slightly unsettled by them.
I gotta say, the Tian character guide book is probably my favorite book that's been released this year and may remain as such. It's chock full of character options, just like how the Wild was, but there's so many really good ones. Over half of the book is just ancestry or heritage options. Of the 138 pages of this book, 87 of them are just straight up ancestry. Well, I guess there's a little bit of the sections in front, so like probably close to 80, maybe a little under 80 of the pages are just dedicated straight up to ancestry choices. How about you, a hunger seed? Go to your Oni dad and piss him off with a bowl of chili. I don't know if they actually would fear like cooked. It's like I don't even know what the whole myth around the bean thing is. So I don't know what the specific state of the bean matters or not.
I don't know. I feel like chili beans, that's basically a mush.
It pretty much is. But maybe
I ain't afraid of anything I could smush in my fingers like a little piece of goop.
Also, I gotta say, this is also one of those more subtly horrifying ancestry books out there. The new Peach Children or Childlike Plants for the Leshies is terrifying.
I love them. Those guys are the best. And I'm so sad that I can't play it because it doesn't fit my character.
Yeah. They're very strange. Very interesting, though. Oh, goodness. Oh, I've been so busy. Today's stream was late because, one, I was trying to get everything together, but two... Yeah, well, they're from Momotaro. Beachy Boy.
Yeah, there are also just like a lot of different types of folklore about human child-shaped plants.
Yeah, there are for sure.
I'm surprised there's not like a ginseng leshy.
Well, it's probably just a tuber leshy.
Yeah, but it's different.
Kind of. I mean, it has more like cultural implications, but it's just a tuber plant.
Yeah, because there are also like human ginsengs that are just actual children that you catch and take a bite of.
That is terrifying. Yeah, we do have the Starlit Sentinel now as well. So if you want to be a magical girl in your transformations, you even get an ability, Starlit Transformation, once per hour. It transforms all your armor, clothing, and a single weapon in your possession into a specific alternate outfit. Though they all look while they do look different, they all function exactly the same.
That's great.
Though, while you are in your Sentinel form, your transformed weapon does shine with starlight and gains a +1 status bonus to damage rolls with that weapon, which is kind of hype. And you can fling bolts of starlight from your weapon with a single strike using your melee attack modifier. With the weapon, these bolts do a d4 force damage and have a range of 60 feet and are affected by your weapon runes and have the arcane and force traits. So you do get a wand or weapon that you can swing at enemies and hit them with little stars. Pew pew. What can you tell about the Yaoguai, the feral like similar to Kitsune? What do you mean?
They're not Kitsune.
Yaoguai are spirits, essentially. Spirits that are like the embodiment of simple animals, plants, or objects, more or less. There are some born of, what is it? I think it's born of animal Yao Guai specifically, but you can have Yao Guai of like clay pots or a peach tree or something. Thank you, Saggy Mont Blanc, for the follow. Born of Elements. In your Yao Guai form, they don't get a elemental unarmed strike. Instead, they get access to a cantrip. They can choose Electric Art, Frostbite, Ignition, Needle Darts, Timber, Scatter Scree, Slashing Gust, or Spout. And you cast these as innate primal cantrips. In your human form, you get a +1 circumstance bonus to survival checks to sense direction, and you don't take a penalty if you don't have a compass. I didn't even know you took a penalty if you didn't have a compass. We've been doing it wrong. Yao Guai are very interesting. Honestly, probably the one I'm the most interested in, but it's mostly due to the art. The Born of Item Yao Guai, I think it's made of paper, and it's probably from like a Fulu scroll or something like that. I'm not sure. It looks super hype. If you were to say make a Eastern themed angel made out of paper, this is exactly what you would get. Their feats are really cool. They got a lot of like polymorph based effects, either morphing parts of your body or your complete body to do certain things. It's a really, really cool ancestry, and I think it's definitely going to be a lot of people's top picks moving forward. Though it is a rare one, so you know GMs are going to be GMs.
If any GM ever tells me I can't play a rare ancestry, I'm gonna cry. Rare options are my bread and butter. I need to find some way to play them.
Everyone wants to play the rare options. Looter, you ain't special.
Alright, human fighter over here.
Dude, I've never played a human fighter.
You talk about all the time how you love humans.
I like playing humans. I do indeed like playing humans, but I also just enjoy myself. Thank you, Patrick Bateman, for the sub.
The Patrick Bateman?
The Patrick Bateman. What is Tian Sha? Tian Sha is a continent in the Galarian mythos, the Galarian world, the setting of Pathfinders, Lost Omens, and it is essentially the Eastern, it's like Central Asian, Eastern continent. Mostly like a lot of martial arts. It's a lot of medicine. It's a lot of like the mythic creatures from Eastern, like all the stuff you're seeing behind me here is pretty much exactly what's in Tian Sha. It's really, really cool. And the world guide they released was very interesting, and the character guide is my favorite book they've released in quite a while. Oh yeah, actually, and Nirok just reminded me as well. Rune Lord, the wizard class archetype, is getting a remaster soon in a new book that's coming out. It is if you are in our Discord, linked in the description or below on Twitch, you can we have people post new stuff all the time, and this one was posted just recently about their the Schools of Lost Omens rival academies, where it's essentially competing magic academies, and we're getting a new Rune Lord version. Did it actually have a release date? around March next year. So early next year, we're going to be getting Rival Academies, which that's, I guess, good for me. Because I'm going to be having a daughter that this early, like somewhere mid January. So I guess just as I'm getting used to having a child, I get more work from Paizo. Man, these slave drivers making me work so hard. Eastern, Southern, Eastern Asia. Yeah, it's mostly what everyone would consider the East for a lot of stuff.
Well, the East is just all of Asia, basically.
Well, yeah, but technically parts of Asia are like technically Russia, so.
Yeah.
What new ancestry heritage did you find particularly nice in the new book? Yaogwai. Yaogwai are really, really cool. I love the idea. I like the idea behind them. I like a lot of the imagery you can do with them. They are the type of thing that, like, as an ancestry, you always have some kind of backstory related to, like, why you became a thing. And it's very easy to make a very interesting Yaogwai character. They're also incredibly varied. They have some insanely cool feats. And I think they're just really cool. I think they're really, really interesting. Where in Galarian does South and West Asia exist? West Asia? Are you talking... What part of West Asia are we talking about? Are we talking, like, almost Middle East? And South is Tian Sha. They got a lot of, like, Indian style of stuff. And if what Only Man is saying here for Western Asia, they don't really have anything dedicated to that. Osirian and some of those parts of the Inner Sea area are kind of based on those cultures, but they don't have a very strong stuff yet. Though I do think we're going to be seeing stuff around kind of like Western Asia with the War of Immortals stuff. Because I know some of the characters are themed around that. Yeah, apparently everyone's saying is Vudra and Kazmarin are like the South Asia style. And true, Dead Phoenix is correct. Asia technically does exist in the setting because Earth exists in the setting, though they're not a part of Galarian. If we're talking about Galarian inspired, then yeah. And yeah, maybe I might do the Yaogwai review. We'll see. I've been doing my best to review everything I can that people want me to review. So if people mention it in the comments, then I'll do my best. There's a lot of stuff in this book. It's full of character options. And well, definitely, I do like covering a lot of this stuff, and to be fair, a lot of this stuff does perform better on the channel. I do want to get back to covering other games like Lancer, because Lancer just had a new book release, and another one's right on the horizon. And as well, I want to cover more Fabula Ultima, because I really like Fabula Ultima. I think it's a really cool game. So, starting next week, I'm going to do more of a mix-up. I still have so much to cover from Player Core 2 and How the Wild. I didn't even cover all the archetypes from, and there's still so much here in the Tian Sha character guide. And I got like a month. I got a month to do a lot of this kind of stuff before I have to get back into work mode with War of Immortals, which is coming out like towards the end of October. Have you heard of All Flesh Must Be Eaten? Are you talking about as a TTRPG? I've not heard of that if it's a TTRPG. Sounds interesting and terrifying, but that makes it more interesting. Also, right, this weekend, so actually this weekend is not a break for me. This weekend, I have to buy Mutants and Masterminds 3rd edition and learn it because we're starting a Mutants and Mastermind campaign here on the channel starting next Tuesday with our session 0. So we got a lot of stuff coming up. I've been so busy. Oh God, it's fine though.
And Mutants Masterminds is a great game that everyone will love.
I think it'll be fun. Those games are always fun. It just depends on if everyone's on the same page, because character power varies super wildly.
As long as you don't try to break the game with equipment and bases, you're fine.
Yeah. I don't think that's a TTRPG. That's just their personal philosophy. All flesh must be eaten. Terrifying.
It's a good philosophy to have. Can't be too safe.
True.
Yo, what? Mutants Mastermind's character creation is fun.
I think there's just some people who don't like doing math as a part of character creation. Which I understand. Granted, I enjoy more in-depth systems, personally.
Sounds like a bunch of coward talk. There's a lot to keep track of, though.
Yeah, I mean, I played Anima Beyond Fantasy, and the key creation system in that for key techniques is nuts. So, yeah. For a newbie, it's higher stress than other systems. That's fair. I could say that. I mean, there's a lot of games from, like, the mid-90s to, like, the early 2000s that are great for hobby RPG players, people who do a lot of them because they're very interesting. Oh, it's a zombie-based RPG on RPG Drive-Thru. Okay. Might be something to check into. One of my players I know is forever scarred of zombie stuff. He'll never touch zombie stuff ever again. But we may look into it. Unfortunately, like, there is the next year is almost completely taken up for what games we're going to play, because we're going to play Mutants and Masterminds, and then we're going to play Plague Watch Season 1. We may get a gap to play something else, which it's one of the players, like, games they want to try out or whatever. And then we're going to play Starfinder 2nd edition. Or no, we might go back to Plague Watch. I don't know. I do want to do Starfinder 2nd edition. We might go Plague Watch, then Starfinder 2nd edition, then back to Plague Watch. Yeah, it's a lot. I wish we had more time. And in the future, if I can get editors and everyone gets more free time, or I can pay people to be in the games, then maybe we can start doing more. But time is limited, and once-a-week games is the easiest to keep, like, straight. I remember Luis Loza is interested in making a Lost Omens Arcadia setting book, which would be much more of a Mesoamerican flavor. Yeah, and also the home of the Beast Guns, which is also really, really cool. So that would be really cool. I know a lot of people have been have been really requesting Arcadia for a really, really long time. So I really hope we get an Arcadia book. Would you allow Kaiju Defense to work with sprites in toy poppets? I'm curious if raw or if it's broken, if allowed. So if you're talking about just the Oath, I think it's fine. Technically, rules is written. As long as the creature is 2 sizes larger than you, then it works. So sprites can do so. Though, to be fair, sprites are tiny, and any tiny character has to be in your square to attack you. So that has some possible implications of how dangerous that can be. But for the defense part of it, where you get a bonus to saves against kaiju effects, that's specific. So that one is for kaijus specifically. But I don't think there's any major problem with it, honestly. Da-dun-da-dun. I have a character that was made wrong and it upsets me. Let's see, I think. More zombie stuff, cool. Letting sprites and toy poppers get extra damage is possibly an issue, but they are also tiny, so they have to be inside. Yeah, that's exactly what I just said. So, you know, they have to spend extra movements, and that means that every character is technically, for most sprites, an extra 5 feet away in order to be hit with like melee weapons. So that
Just
means
use reach weapons. You're fine.
Well, yeah, then you get normal reach. So, you know, but the problem is that particular stance only works with either a one-handed weapon or a agile or finesse two-handed weapon. Apparently someone made a deck for their Mutants and Masterminds character or characters. That does sound interesting. So, yeah, I don't think it's super strong, and a few points of damage isn't going to make a big deal more often than not. Like, and plus, at least in comparison to like humans, if the meta becomes play a sprite, I'm kind of okay with that. Sprites are interesting, and there's a lot of interesting implications to playing that. And not only that, but because of the reach issue that we just talked about, that does limit the kind of weapons they can use. So rules is written, I don't think there's any major problems with it. And to be honest, I would prefer that kind of thinking so that at least small characters or whatever can get the option available more often, because coming across huge characters, at least up until like halfway through the game, like level 10, 12, is really difficult. Most enemies you come across is large, so the oath doesn't get used more often than not. So, you know. Yeah, only reach weapons with finesse or have agile maxes out a d6 damage, which, you know, then the damage is just making up the difference. So I really don't think it's a major problem, especially because the archetype in particular doesn't favor hard-hitting weapons necessarily. I am very excited. Small characters will have a much better time with it, honestly. Yeah, and then it's only useful against large creatures, which are more common, but not as common as like medium creatures. Is there a penalty for a tiny fighting a huge or gargantuan and vice versa? Only for some of the maneuvers. Like, you need things like Titan Wrestler, which I don't even think gargantuan, a tiny character, could. What is it for Titan Wrestler? How big can you get with Titan Wrestler?
Can you get up to 4 sizes bigger?
3 sizes at max if you have legendary, which means that would be large creatures. So yeah, tiny creatures cannot grapple, trip, shove, or whatever creatures ever that are larger than large.
Unless you start getting things like giant barbarian or
Well, yeah, unless
large.
you increase in size, but that's a different problem. Do you like Anima Beyond Fantasy? That's a great question, and I don't have a good answer. The Anima Beyond Fantasy was for the longest time my favorite TTRPG. I played it a lot, very interesting. I had to mold that game into a functioning system for my players, and it's something that took a lot of effort, a lot of time, and it was the most effort I put into making any TTRPG work, and it turned really, really good. I still had some of my most negative moments in that game, as well as some of my best moments in that game. So the game system as a whole is terrible. It's terribly balanced. There's a lot of things not considered. There's a book that fixes some of the stuff, and it's not even available in English. I speak a bit of Spanish, and so I'm able to like use it slightly, but it's way more headache inducing than just looking at the game. And there's several times like it mentions tables that just don't exist. It's a very cool game conceptually. In practice, very, very terrible. So do I love it? Do I like it? I don't know. I kind of is the best answer I can give. Personal question: which one of you think is stronger for a gunslinger? Gravity weapon, whispers of weakness, or accidental sharpshooter, or another option? Well, I think isn't gravity weapon only for crossbows? Bows or crossbows? I'm not sure. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I wanted focus spells. Oh no, it's any weapon. I mean, stronger is relative and not really a great question for Pathfinder because strong is always typically situational. So gravity weapon is probably the most like efficient damage wise. And I don't remember anything from accidental sharpshooter. I know I've done.
It's pretty good.
Is it pretty good?
Yeah, it's pretty strong effects in there.
Also, these options are really not super great to like. They're not applicable. One's like an archetype versus a feat. I would say probably accidental sharpshooter because it's the most character like influencing choice you can make there. But gravity weapon's a cool choice. I do like gravity weapon. It's one of the very few damage amps you can get in the game. So
is there a way to get gravity weapon outside of Ranger?
no, I think you have to archetype Ranger.
You just have to archetype into it.
Yeah.
So I would say that accidental sharpshooter is way better because you don't have to archetype into a full other class just for one feat.
I mean, I think it's pretty equal because you have to archetype into accidental sharpshooter anyway. And Ranger does have a lot of other good feats, so I don't know. That is one benefit of normal archetypes versus multi-class archetypes. Normal archetypes are some of the only ways you can get some stronger like feats that other classes have, because most classes you can only ever get up to a max level 10 feat. But some archetype feats do go beyond that for some of the feats they give you access to for very specific situations. Have you heard of CJ Calera Witchcraft? Think Mage the Ascension, but each magic belief system have their own magic systems, and the rules are much simpler, and reality is not consensus. Interesting. I've not heard of that. That does sound very, very interesting. I do love Mage the Ascension. That does sound really wacky. Unexpected Sharpshooter gives you advantage once per day right from level 2. Yeah. Looks like Accidental Sharpshooter seems to be the consensus. Hello, Darpoon. Thanks for the sub, Darpoon. Thank you. I'm glad you love my content.
Hi, Darpoon.
I do my best. I'm trying my best. It does help for my channel anyway that I put out more content than anyone else. For better or worse. For my mental. Granted, Wisdom Check does put out a lot of content too. Is there anything for Tengu coming out? Yes, I believe Tengu did get some new options as well. Let's see here. I do love the new sprite options and the pop-it options. Actually, did Tengu get nothing? Tengu are apparently heavily associated with... No, they didn't get any new ancestry options. That's super sad, actually. That's utterly tragic. They got some new lore, but no new ancestry options. That's tragic. I definitely think they should have gotten something. That's I don't know how I feel about that. Because even Kitsune got some, and they didn't even get as much as I would have liked, to be honest. I would have wished for a little bit more for some of the ancestries that are definitely like from Tian, especially Tengu. That's so weird they didn't get more. So my first character on that West March server was a tiny Kinesis. Do you think I overcompensate for size when I made my second character a size large character? Centaur Fighter? Not necessarily. Now maybe if you played like a giant instinct centaur, then maybe.
It will just say something about you as a person, though.
True.
And everyone will know that.
Yeah, I don't know. Tengu got shafted. I think that's really it, which is very unfortunate. Now I know everyone loves their little guys, but Tengu deserved some love, and that's very tragic. If I remember correctly, Magus, Inventor, and Monk got class options. Any other class stuff? Yes! The cooking video I put out just before we went live today has some new alchemist feats that are really cool, actually. I love, there's an alchemist feat that's called, like, Fermented Elixir or something along those lines. Double check that real quick. But it's probably one of my favorite feats for the alchemist in the game. Fermenting liquors. Yeah, once per day, you hand someone some liquor and they drink it and they recover twice your level in HP. Though, additionally, for the next hour, any diplomacy checks against them get a +1 status bonus, which I love. It's a decent heal for like a singular action to give to someone. But it also has out-of-combat stuff where you can share liquor with someone you're chatting with and make your checks against them even better. So it's a great feat because it applies equally in combat and out of combat. And both in very effective ways. Isn't there elemental medicine stuff too? I do believe they've added some elemental stuff. They also added a new... Prepare elemental medicine. What is prepare elemental medicine? Wow, they just added a whole nother system for doing medicine checks in this game. So they did add new elemental medicines, and it's very alchemy, but not like alchemist alchemy. It's more like actual like old alchemy, like the humors and stuff like that, or Chinese medicine, if you're familiar with that as well. And yeah, you determine what elemental, what sound, like taste association. It's wild. This is really wild. I'd have to go into this more in depth. It's crazy. And then they added a bunch new medical skill feats and some new medical class feats. Druid and Ranger got a stance, intensified elemental stance. Interesting. It's a stance you can only go into if you're doing elemental medicine to yourself regularly. That's super interesting. Ooh, a new summoner feat. Protective pose.
What's that do?
Pose. So you pose in tandem. So it's 2 actions, and you or your island are at least within 30 feet of one another. You both pose in a special fortifying pose, and you channel your chi into a protective barrier and a 30-foot emanation until the start of your next turn. Characters within that range or within that barrier gain resistance to your choice of acid, cold, electricity, fire, or sonic damage equal to half your level. In addition, any medicine checks targeting a creature with this resistance gain a +2 status bonus to the check, or +2 of its master. That's very interesting. They added some very cool medicine stuff here.
That pose sounds like it would be good for my JoJo stand build.
It does. It's very interesting. I really appreciate how you differentiate between your game and other folks' game when talking about new features as opposed to other YouTubers just saying overpowered bad with no context. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who think tabletop games are a lot more generalized than they actually are, and that's not necessarily their fault. There's just this expectation that like a certain percentage of people play a very specific way. And I feel like that doesn't account for just the fact that so many people just run their games super differently, have so much homebrew and everything like that. And in the end of the day, my own personal takes cannot be like applicable in every table. There's some tables where like I said during the monk video, shoving at our table is mostly not a great action. Trips are better in like a lot of different ways, but that's just because I also just don't stage a lot of fights in places where people can be shoved off of them, for instance. Where if you have a GM who really loves that kind of stuff, really loves certain types of maneuvers that favor shoving, then in those games shoving is really, really good. So there's no one answer fits all for tabletop in general. And whenever I give opinions, it's always based on what we do typically. So I'm glad you appreciate it, but you know, don't hold it against other people. They just have a different expectation, and that's completely fine because in their games it works just a different way. Alchemy, so if I sacrifice an arm and a leg, I could attempt to resurrect your dead mom. I mean, you could do that, yeah, technically. You could always attempt to resurrect your dead mom for an arm and a leg.
But you also do have to give up your entire brother's body, so...
True. Was there an embargo on the Tian content before it was released? I see you posting a lot about the new book. No, there's no embargo. So what it is for content creators when it comes to Pathfinder content is there is a subscription you can get with Paizo where you subscribe so that you get their books as they come out automatically. Your account's automatically charged, and when that book gets sent out to you, you get a PDF while you're waiting for your book to get to you, essentially. And this is only if you're getting the physical books. So for content creators, we just get that PDF sent to us to review, but people already have gained access to the content already. So for the subscribers, they already get it, but we make content specifically for everyone who isn't going into that because tabletop is expensive, and I think it's important for people to have knowledge about what they want to buy before buying it rather than, you know, buying the book and finding out if they like it or not. Is shove weaker than reposition? No, I think in general they're equal because repositioning is great for rotating enemies into bad positions. There's some really good ways reposition can be utilized. Granted, it's very situational. And shoving, a lot of people were talking about how shoving makes an enemy waste an action to move up to you. But the thing is, if an enemy is spending 3 actions attacking you, their third attack is likely not to hit. And yeah, sure, there are some enemies with 2 or 3 action abilities that are pretty nasty, but because of that restraint, those enemies very typically are large and already have reach, in which case most characters will not be able to shove them into a way where they can't still be affected. So I think they're equal. They do different things for different purposes. And that's the point of maneuvers in general, is the right maneuver for the right situation. There's not really a better or worse. I guess I will say, though, there are more feats and features targeting shove in the game and benefiting shove than there are repositioning currently. So that can be something to be considered. For you playing as a sprite, would you sacrifice the ability to flank by not using a reach weapon for using a weapon you like, which does not have reach? For me, yeah, sure. I don't feel like you have to use a reach weapon for sprites at all. If you want to, sure, and it does make your character overall easier to deal with multiple people, but it's something where I don't think you really need to choose between the two.
There's also a lot of ways to get the bonus of flanking in other situations.
To be fair, reposition only came out with a remaster, so it's had less time to get stuff. That's true, but that doesn't mean that that fact is any less true. That there's just more stuff targeting shove than there is reposition, so you know, that's just the reality for now. What is your opinion of the pin to the spot feat level 14 from the provocateur archetype that lets you, for 2 actions, strike a target within reach? If you hit and do damage, you critically succeed at a grapple. Sounds good. I don't know what you want me to talk about. Who's the other host this time? It's Sir Peanut Booter. He's been a reoccurring guest host whenever Alex is too sick to join or something. Thanks. Please have a good night. Thank you. Is that broken at all? No, I wouldn't say so. Because it's a pin to spot. You strike at a target within reach. If you hit and deal damage, the target is also restrained, as if you had critically succeeded at an athletics check to grapple. So a 2-action strike that, if it deals damage, restrains the target. If you had critically succeeded at an athletics check to grapple the target. For a level 14 feat, I guess that is really, really strong, actually, now that I'm looking at it. The reading of that was not exactly... Because restrained is really tough. You can't do anything while restrained unless you escape. And it's just an automatic escape, or an automatic restrained. Yeah, that is actually super duper strong. Holy fuck.
But I think there are also just like a lot of really strong level 14 feats.
Not like that. That's an instant restraint is devastating.
I don't know. What level is Scared to Death?
Yeah, but Scare of Death has a save.
Yeah, well, this one you gotta hit an attack.
Well, yeah, you have to hit an attack. The enemy doesn't get a chance to save.
But if you go all in on Intimidation...
Yeah, but there's some
the same
enemies...
difficulty, basically.
There are some enemies that are immune to fear effects, for instance. And I believe that also has incapacitation or the death rate. There's also enemies that's immune to death.
It does have incapacitation, and I think it also has death.
It definitely has death.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a restrained creature is off guard, immobilized, and can't use any attack or manipulate actions except to escape. So they can't do anything.
Yeah, but in our game, when I took Scared to Death, we did have so many times where I just walked into a room and killed 3 people off the bat.
Well, yeah. I mean, Scared Death is a good feat, but Pin to the Spot is devastating. Like, because one, so many things can resist your effect. 2, stronger creatures can resist that effect. But Pin to the Spot, you hit the boss, they can't do anything unless they waste an action to escape. As long as they're technically a grappleable creature by you. And your first strike has a really high chance of hitting. That should be a press feat. I would agree with that sentiment. That's an absurdly strong feat. I think that's too strong, to be honest. I mean, 2 actions. Like, there are feats in this game where it's 2 actions to strike, and if you hit, you get a grapple on the creature. So this is literally just that, but a step up. This is just objectively better. That's too strong. Yeah, I don't know. That's too strong.
Is there a prereq to this feat?
No, you just have to have the dedication of Provocateur. Which I guess Provocateur does require 14 strength and 14 charisma.
But at level 14, the amount of ability boosts you get, you're gonna have plenty of strength and charisma.
Yeah, and by level 14, yeah, you have plenty of time. So that's Pin to the Spot is too strong. That was not made by the core designers of the team, it seems like. I don't know how that got a pass. Well, that requirement is only access. And access is GM dependent. And mostly only applies to society play. Also, it's a level 10 dedication. Well, yeah. I mean, we're talking about a level 14 feat, so... This archetype actually in general looks really, really strong. What is All or Nothing? Agents of Edgewatch. This has been around for a while, huh? It's so strange I have not seen this up until this point. Now, I will state that even though that ability is really, really strong, it can only target one person at a time. But if you have a boss monster, this is incredibly infuriating for your GM. So, especially because it's so easy to gear a character to make them insanely hard to get away from, meaning that boss might just be forever stuck, depending. New subscriber, The Great Squark. Thank you. I love your name. Is Alchemist with cooking redundant because of the versatile vials? I mean, a little bit, yeah, but not completely, because the Wandering Chef, where you get all that stuff from, has some feats that you can't access as an alchemist, but there are some redundancies, for sure. Any other questions about the Tian Shaw stuff, though? Moving away, as the stream is supposed to be for people who want some information on Tian Sha. Isn't there an archetype that gives you elemental stances? There is the Fire Breathing Vanguard. Sorry, the five breath Vanguard, which has the Cycle Elemental stance. And this allows you to cycle between Iron Blood, Mountain, Reflected Ripple, Stoked Flame, and Tangled Forest stance. And as an action, you stride or step and then switch into a different stance, which is really, really cool. Ooh, the new innovations. Okay. The innovations are pretty cool. So there were, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 new inventor feats. And they're really cool. So there's a cool armor innovation you can get really early called Oil Fire. It's one action. It requires that you have an armor innovation and you have a foe grabbed. And you douse your opponent in flammable oil and then ignite it. They need to make a reflex against your class DC. If they succeed or crit succeed, the grab ends. But if they succeed, the grab ends, but they take 1 persistent fire damage. If they fail, they're still grappled by you and they take persistent fire damage equal to half your level. Woof. That's really strong. And in crit failure, they take persistent fire damage equal to your level. That's really, really good. Wukong extension. Oh, cool. So it's essentially an extending rune, but through a feat. So the Wukong extension essentially is a weapon extension that allows you to, as a singular action, swing out and make a melee strike against an enemy within 30 feet. That's really, really cool. No, these are not these are not innovations. These are feats that apply to those innovations specifically, which I think we do need more of, more feats to specific innovations. Yeah, they added some really, really cool ones. All right, Starlight Sentinels, a lot of people are talking about. Let's look more at Starlight Sentinel. So Starlight Sentinel, if you didn't catch it earlier, they're the magical girl. You essentially get, it's essentially the vigilante, only now you're a magical girl, which is kind of fun. While you're in your Sentinel form, you transform weapon shines, blah, blah, blah. I did that one already. Let's see here. They get a new focus spell called Shining Starlight Attack. It's 2 actions. And you release a powerful blast of Constellation, doing 2d10 damage to all enemies in either a 30-foot line or 15-foot cone with the basic save against your class DC. And it has... Do you choose? Oh, so there's certain constellations, I see, that you can select that are kind of the theme of your character. And this determines the type of damage it does. So if you have the constellation of the Ogre, for instance, this Starlight Attack takes the form of a club that does bludgeoning damage. That's really cool. So Starlight Sentinel, you have a constellation that determines... you're chosen by one of the constellations of the Tian Zodiac, gaining a transformation seal, a mundane seeming item of light bolt such as a ring, brooch, or key. And yeah, you get interesting constellation powers. Let's see here. Majestic Proclamation. You're currently in your Sentinel form. Attempt to demoralize against all enemies within 30 feet. The demoralize loses the auditory trait and gains visual trait. In addition to the regular effects of demoralize, enemies become dazzled for a minute on a successful check. Dazzled for a minute? Holy moly, that's really, really good. You can use Majestic Proclamation as a single action if your previous action was Starlight Transformation. Oh my god, so you can transform and then just dazzle a bunch of people in 30 feet? Transformation. Let's see here.
Is that dazzle effect just indiscriminate, though?
No, it's all enemies.
Ooh.
It's once per hour you can transform. Once per hour you can transform into your Starlight Sentinel. Once per hour, and this form lasts for 10 minutes. So it's very, very powerful, but you can only do it every so often. Let's see. Oh, here's an interesting feat. So, Blade of the Heart. It's a singular action. You plunge your transformed weapon into the heart of a willing adjacent ally, where it phases harmlessly into their body. As you pull your weapon out, your ally's heart inscribes one of the following weapon property runes onto your weapon: corrosive, flaming, frost, shock, thundering, or vitalizing. The first time you use Blade of the Heart with a given ally, the GM should decide which rune best represents your shared relationship. And therefore, each time after you use after that you use Blade of the Heart with that ally, you draw the same rune. So each of your allies can have different runes associated with them. I love that. That's so flavorful. Also, there's a weird thing here where it doesn't require an ally to be adjacent. Oh no, it does say will. There's just no. It's just not in the action stuff. That's a little weirdly set up, but yeah. So they have to be adjacent to you. But that's cool. That's fun. That's actually really hype. Desperate Wish. You gain Breath of Life as an innate arcane spell. You can use once per day while in your transformed Sentinel state. So hopefully you're transformed when you need to do that. Though when you do Desperate Wish, you do transform back. That's kind of sad. So if you use Breath of Life, which hopefully you won't have to use that so often, you do just transform back. I do like the story idea behind that, though. And then Sentinel's orbits. When you're in your Sentinel form, you gain a fly speed equal to your land speed or 20 feet, whichever is higher. So yeah, Starlit Sentinel. Really, really cool. Very, very interesting. You do just become a magical girl. You get a whole transformation. You get to change all the aesthetics of your gear. And very flavorful. The Majestic Proclamation, though, holy crap, that's so strong. Because Dazzle, for people who don't know, make everything concealed to you during that duration. So your allies can hide just in plain sight right in front of the enemy. That's really good. Also, they need to make a flat chick to hit you at all. Now, there are some other questions that were asked earlier, so I apologize if I missed anyone. What's all the ancestry options in the book? Let's see here. So, goblins got a new heritage called Dokubi. We got the Hunger Seed, which is a half Oni first tile heritage. Gnomes got the Kijimuna, which is kind of like, I guess, based on fishing. I haven't gotten a chance to look into it yet. Kobolds got 2 new heritages, Heaven Scribe Kobold and Mighty Fall Kobold. And they gained some new feats, mostly about either being a scribe of some powerful entity or gaining some somewhat kaiju-like features. The Leshy got 2 new heritages, Chrysanthemum Leshy and Peach Child Leshy, as well as some new feats like Childlike Plant, which is terrifying, but a lot of other very interesting feats. Lizard Folk got 2 new heritages, the Bukwa Lizard Folk and the Makiri Lizard Folk, and some new feats as well. I haven't looked into a lot of it. Sprites got 4 new heritages, the Dijang, Gadvara, the Conchil, and the Lungli, and a good handful of new feats, though not nearly as many, which is interesting considering how many heritages they got. The Poppets got a new Tsukugami heritage, which makes you some kind of implement that's gained a spirit, as well as a bunch of new feats, actually. Also, the art for them are really, really sick. Kitsune got the Palace Echoes Kitsune heritage, as well as 6 new feats. Pretty interesting. They did get some new feats specifically around their Star Orb, which I'm super hyped about. The Nagaji got a new heritage, the Shimmer Tongue Nagaji, and a bunch of new feats, actually. We got the Samsaran, which are individuals that are kind of like zombies in a sense. They're more similar to like and I'm being very, very like overly simplified. They're more similar to the Duskborn? Is that what they're called? Versatile heritage that we already have. But yeah, they're essentially like an undead type character. Very, very interesting. They got a lot of stuff. They have too much to go over. We got the Serengei, essentially, which are like a Minotaur, but they're much more mystic and moon themed. They also have this really cool head gem that can do some special things. We gained the Tanuki, which have a bunch of heritages, all kinds of really fun stuff. There's an image of a Tanuki with a it looks like a cannon, like a handheld cannon. Looks like a lot of fun. A lot of the art's really good. We got the Wayang. I don't know how to accurately describe these things, to be honest. The Wayang or the Wayang? They're based on the mythologies of the Wayang, so, you know. They're very interesting. They have a lot of Underdark or Nether Realm tinge to them. Lots of shadowy based stuff. I think they also can manipulate shadows as well. We have the Yaksha, which are beings who have what's the best way to represent? Again, a lot of these things are like very inspired by actual real world myths. So it's like sometimes they're just not like anything else. They're essentially like these beings who are forced to do like benevolent acts, often as protectors or the like, and they get a bunch of cool abilities. They're very South Asian inspired. They got a lot of cool abilities we talked about earlier, like the ability to get 4 arms, for instance, for a short amount of time. And then we have the Aogwai, which are spirits that are born from simple objects, animals, things like trees, all that kind of stuff. My favorite one, personally, you have a humanoid form and a Yaogwai form, and you get all kinds of really, really cool abilities around transforming your body, and you're just kind of like a physical manifestation of a spirit, is the best way to put it. Wayangs are inspired by Indonesian shadow puppets. There you go. Also, thanks, Alex, for the sub. I missed you earlier. So, those are all the options. It looks like everyone's just been talking about Starlight Sentinel, stabbing each other for buffs. It's great. Just jumped in, but I guess the question is, what's the sickest thing you've come across in the book so far? The thing I find the most interesting are definitely the Yaogwai. I think they're really, really cool. But many of the archetypes are really awesome. The cooking, the Wandering Chef, genuinely really cool. The medicine stuff looks insane, actually. Looks really, really cool. To be fair, cultivating stuff has been heavily, like, fantasized. But the cultivator was a little depressing. I know Booter has some thoughts on that.
Yeah. I'm disappointed. I can't put it on every character now. A book all about martial arts. The one thing I wanted to be like a magical martial artist just has nothing to do with martial arts even a little bit.
It is very sad. So what is the 5 Breath Vanguard stuff? So the 5 Breath Vanguard is essentially a archetype dedication. It's a level 6 archetype dedication. And you go through the elemental stances. The elemental stances being Iron Blood, Mountain Stance, Reflected Ripple Stance, Stoked Flame Stance, Tangled Forest Stance. And you get a base feat that allows you to stride and then swap stances. And it just gives you a bunch of benefits for swapping your stances up, is more or less what it's about. Like, a really good reaction they get is Protective Cycle. It's a reaction. Whenever you take damage from an attack, you must be in one of the elemental stances. When you take damage from the attack, you step or you cycle elemental stance. So you step or stride by taking damage, swap to a different stance, and gain a +2 circumstance bonus until the end of your next turn. So you get damage, you move away from the enemy, they have to use another action if they want to hit you again, and you get a bonus to your AC, and you swap stances. Insanely good. What is a Yaogwai? Yaogwai are the spirits of simple objects, trees, animals, all that kind of stuff. You are essentially the manifestation of a physical spirit that originated from a particular thing. Like the king of the mountains is a good example, is like some kind of animal or beast that probably actually became like a Yaogwai. And now you have a humanoid form and your Yaogwai form. They're all about changing their bodies. They're all about getting cool powers. Can you tell us more about the new animal companions? Sure. New animal companion. You know, I'm gonna swap my screens around here because I've been looking to my right too much. But I'll put chat over there. No. Where are the new animal companions? I know there are some. Yes, here they are. So we got a durian crab, which is a small or medium-sized creature. It has a crab cannon ability. Super fun. Your crab curls itself up into a tight little ball and then launches itself with its powerful claw at a target within 20 feet. When it lands, it makes a claw strike, except the damage is bludgeoning instead of piercing. On hit, the target becomes dazzled for a round, and the strike deals an additional D8 damage or 2d8 if your crab is specialized. Durian crab's a lot of fun. We also have a hermit crate. Which is apparently a reptilian-like creature that is inside of a hermit crab shell. The multi-headed serpent creature. Interesting. Oh, this must be what that one Pokemon is based off of. Shuckle. The Sundraflora, which is really cool. It's a pangolin that's made of flowers and stuff. Very, very cool. It also gets a power called Flower Dance, where for 2 actions, it attempts to feint a target creature using its performance instead of its deception. If it's successful, the target is off guard to you rather than the Sundraflora. So it distracts people with its little flowery dance. Then we have the Tikar Urchin Pad. They're like a jellyfish-like entity, which means only for water campaigns, though it does have a 10-foot land speed, which is terrifying. Has a really cool ability for 1 action. If its last action was a successful strike, it makes another strike, and if this strike hits, it automatically grabs the opponent's. Really cool. And then we have the Izobu. It's Yzobu. Izobu. Large equine, abundant in the northern regions of Tian Sha. Some kind of herd animal. Some kind of big yak creature, I'm imagining. Oh, darn, Alex isn't here. I gotta do this myself now, darn it. I gotta do this myself now. Where are you? Get out of here. Did it go away? No, it's still there. How do I get rid of that comment? Oh, there we go. How do I do it? Trying to make that comment go away. I'm hitting delete. Do I have to go to the creator dashboard? Is it gone now? Alex can make those go away, but I can't seem to make that go away. So strange. They do it on both streams? No. I can't even do anything else. I've already banned them. That's why we need Alex here. You already have the best viewers. Oh, thank you. It's gone on this screen. It's just on stream now, which is unfortunate. Don't go to that link. It's a trap. Yeah, I can't get rid of it. Let's see. Oh, and the familiars, right? I was looking into this one. One of the weirdest ones is the Kinars. They're like little people. Half chicken people looking like. Very interesting. I don't know much about them, to be honest. But we also have a lantern wisp, which I don't like personally. I think if you're gonna get one of these familiars, the Shikigami is the better one. But the lantern wisp does have an ability where it can attempt to dazzle everyone in a 15-foot emanation once per 10 minutes, which is very interesting. We have the Makuluk Weyang, which is a familiar with a lot of abilities, very expensive, requiring 8 abilities. It can stretch its shadow, making itself larger, giving it reach to 10 feet for the purposes of taking non-hostile interact actions until the end of your turn. So it can stretch itself, I guess. Very interesting. But the best one is definitely the Shikigami. Shikigami are really, really cool. They can flatten themselves, move under doors. You can make them easily, so if they go away, you can just make another one on your next daily preparations. And you can inscribe a seal upon them. And when you use the Kindling familiar ability, it can apply a different type of elemental damage rather than just fire. Though, there's also the Tapir Sage, which is a little guy who makes tea for you and does a little tea ceremony. And the tea can heal you, do some other effects as well. Kind of fun. Which half is chicken? Bottom half is chicken. Yeah, the canaries are very interesting. I'm trying to read their soul bond here. Yeah, it's this weird, like, there's 2 of them, but they just count as a singular familiar, and they can't really like separate or anything, which is kind of sad. Thank you, Emerson Yancool, for the sub. Appreciate you. I gotta say, the Tian book in general has been an absolute delight. It's very, very interesting to see all the really cool, like, Asian-inspired things put into this book. Honestly, my only complaint was they didn't do more for stuff for the monk, which was very tragic. Even though we got essentially 3 new stances with full, like, feet lines for each of the new stances, I wanted some more like mystic monk stuff for the monk. That's what I wanted particularly, and we just did not get a lot. Martial artist eating good though. Adamantium body is such a good feat. Holy crap. Barbarians cry because they wish they were as hard as the martial artist. Plus echoing violence is a really good feat.
I feel like for monks, they could have easily gone with like a Shaolin temple type of thing. That would have been cool.
I don't know. I wanted some more like, which is super funny because they have a whole like Qigong based part, but it's specifically for the magic casting and the Magus hybrid studies. So like, I don't know. I wanted a little bit more. I do think the stances are fine. The kaiju stance is hype. It's got a lot of really cool stuff. I don't know. I just want a little bit more in a book that has so much martial arts stuff. I wish there was just a little bit more. Weapons and equipment. They only added 4 new items. So they added the Lue Diao, which is the Willow Leaf Saber. It is a one-handed sword that does a D4 slashing damage, has the Agile, Deadly D4, Finesse, Sweep, and Versatile Piercing traits. A lot of traits. Super good. It's also a martial weapon, so if you're looking for a really good D4 slashing weapon, pretty solid. They added the Tetsubo, which is also a part if you want to go with the Hunger Seed Versatile Heritage. You can get it with their weapon proficiency. It is a two-handed club. It's also a martial weapon. It's uncommon, though. It does a D10 bludgeoning damage. It has raising, shove, and sweep. For a two-handed D10 weapon, that's an insane number of feats, of extra traits. Most two-handed weapons don't get much more than like 1 or 2. And raising, shove, and sweep are really good. Sweep especially is super duper solid. They have the Xuanji, which is a double-sided halberd. This halberd weapon does a D6 slashing damage, two-handed. It's a polearm weapon. It has backswing, forceful, reach, and versatile piercing. I don't think it's going to replace a lot of people's favorite halberds. It's not the glaive. It's the other one. You used this weapon before, Booter. What was that? What was that weapon?
The meteor hammer?
No. Maybe you haven't used this weapon. I thought you used this weapon once before.
I haven't used many weapons.
Let's see. It's in the polearm family. Is it the Kasarme?
Halberd?
Ah, the Faustshard. That's what it is. The Faustshard's kind of the typical one because it's a D8, deadly D8, reach, and sweep, and trip. All insanely good, and it does more damage than the Xuanji does. So, I would say it's not going to replace anyone's favorite weapon, but it's still a pretty interesting weapon nonetheless. And we also have the Zhaji Bang, which is an eagle talon cudgel. And this cudgel, you can find these so easy in the list because they have the longest, different names. It's a flail. It does a D6 piercing damage, and it has the disarm, grappling, raising, and trip traits. Pretty good, honestly. A pretty decent weapon overall. 6 traits for just a D6 weapon is pretty solid. And it's a flail weapon, so its crit is nasty. Unlimited says, I wonder if they're holding some monk stuff for Battle Cry or War of Immortals. Maybe. I don't know. The problem is that this is the book you would expect a lot of monk stuff to come out in. And honestly, it didn't really get anything more than like Inventor, which is very strange. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy Inventor got some more stuff. I don't know. I felt underwhelmed by the amount of monk stuff in this book. Should I just make a laughing shadow martial artist monk? Or magus? I mean, yeah, I don't know. Laughing Shadow, by the way, synergizes perfectly with Spirit Warrior. That's a very solid combination. I hope we get some more Magus stuff. I know some of the community is split on it, but I don't think Magus is very in a good spot right now. It's too action hungry, and I feel like Spell Strike is too good. And I feel like if they want Maguses to do anything other than spell striking, they need to either nerf the power of spell striking a bit or make its action economy better. I don't know. Love to hear more of the Inventor stuff. Sure, we can talk a little bit more about Inventor. Some of the other stuff I didn't get to cover earlier. Here's an interesting one. Silk Bracelets. It's a level 6 feat. It requires that you have armor, construct, or weapon, so any of them, any of the innovations. You've attached a bracelet to your innovation that generates an ultra-strong silk strand mixed with venom. Ooh. You can unleash the substance as a part of an attack. Make a melee strike. If it hits, the target takes damage from the strike as normal and must make a fort save against your class DC. If they crit succeed, nothing happens. If they succeed, they get a -10 status penalty to their speeds for 1 round. If they succeed, woof, that's rough. If they fail, it's a -10 speed, and they take an additional D4 persistent poison damage, and it automatically heightens at 2d12 at 12 and 2d4 at 12 and 3d4 at 18. And a crit failure, they're immobilized until the end of their next turn. If your innovation is a minion, it can take this action rather than you. That's really good. And crit failure being immobilized until the end of their next turn, woof, rough. Let's see here. The Jidao Sea Mine drop. This requires the diving armor innovation. And you must be submerged in water to use this action, and the mines only detonate if they're underwater. You offload a mine onto an unoccupied square within your reach. The mine is primed to explode when a smaller, larger creature enters into its space, or when you interact to activate your gizmo's remote detonation button, which explodes the single mine up to 50 feet away. As a 1-minute activity, you can hide the mine. Creatures can detect a hidden mine as though they were a trap or hazard using your craft DC rather than your stealth DC, which is pretty cool. If you don't conceal the mine, its position is obvious. Any creature in a 5-foot emanation around the mine when it detonates takes 3d4 bludgeoning damage and a d4 piercing damage with a basic reflex saving throw against your class DC. The bludgeoning damage of your mines increase by a d4 at 8th level, so every 2 levels after that, every even level after that. Any mines that haven't detonated when you make your daily preparations become inert and harmless. Is there no limit? No, you can just make as many mines as you want. There are 2 actions to drop, but still. Also, it has an unstable function. You push the safety limiters on it. You add unstable to the trait. You create up to 3 additional sea mines that you can immediately deploy into different unoccupied spaces within 30 feet. That's really cool. Granted, it's all underwater, so, you know, rather limited. But I do love that. Man, if we had this in our Riptide campaign, that would have been really cool.
We needed more underwater specific abilities.
Yeah, your group did not have a lot, actually a lot of water stuff for a campaign.
It was weird.
So focused on being underwater.
Greg was pretty underwater based.
Yeah, if only you would
for
kept
the limited
playing
time. If only he had made it out, he would have saved the world, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
They didn't kill him in the crib.
Kill him in the crib at the end of the campaign.
Before he could get on his feet.
He chose not to be an adventurer. Naval
Blame
campaign.
Sylvanas.
It'll be a while before we do another water-based campaign. Especially considering we're about to start. Well, not about to, but we'll be doing Plague Watch next, which is very much not water-based. Water limitation is odd. I mean, there's nothing wrong with feats existing for certain scenarios, even if they're a little bit more niche. Let's see. Let's talk about Celestial Cacophony. This sounds really cool. This requires you have a weapon in innovation. It's a 3-action level 12 feat. Your weapon contains a detonation chamber that launches fireworks, sparklers, and black powder pellets that sizzle, twist, and scatter on the ground in a cacophonous manner. All creatures in a 15-foot cone extending from your innovation take 3d4 fire damage and 3d4 sonic damage with a basic fortitude against your class DC. Both the fire and sonic damage increase by a d4 every even level after this one. The area affected by the cone becomes difficult terrain until the start of your next turn. Creatures moving through the area must make a reflex save against your class DC or take 2d4 persistent fire damage. It has an unstable function where you make it a 30-foot cone, and all the damage increases from d4s to d8s. So it creates a big area of... Also, thank you, Solrex, for the follow on Twitch. I appreciate you. Makes a big, difficult terrain area, does sonic damage and fire damage, and potentially persistent fire damage. Not bad. For a level 12 feat, it's a little underwhelming. What video will you be releasing in the future? Hopefully a lot of videos. If you're talking about, like, what video will I be doing next, I don't know yet. Let's see, what are people talking about? Let me look at that video and see what a lot of people are talking about. I know there's been more cries for Kobold stuff.
The only kobolds that are valid in any way are the Heavenly Scribe ones. Those guys sound cool. They're A-okay in my book. The other ones, get them out of here.
Here's an interesting comment. Couldn't keep watching your video after the 20th time you couldn't find the L in Gunslinger. I'm old and crotchety. I mean, I guess they know they're being old and crotchety, but like, just because I couldn't pronounce the L well enough for you in the video. So strange. I don't know. Can't make everyone happy.
They might be old and crotchety, but but don't worry. There's no way they can hold a candle to you.
Thank you. Well, so far it's looking like I'll be covering the changes to ancestries in the next video. What is this blasphemy against swobolds? Because the new kaiju one makes them a 10 HP rather than 6, I think is what they have.
Alright, those ones are cool too.
Yeah, kobolds who grow up in proximity to a kaiju.
Yeah, they're allowed to stay. But those two groups only. I will not be making any more exceptions.
Oh yeah, I love that there's just now a kobold feed that just lets you talk to koi fish. That's all it does. You just get to talk to koi fish. It's great.
I love that feat too. They're making me like kobolds and I hate it. Hi Gwe, it is me.
Hi Gwe. Chunky little guys. They're thick, extra thick kobolds with 3 Qs.
Now I'm actually gonna I'm gonna become what I've sworn to defeat, which is a kobold player. Ugh. I want to play a Heavenly Scribe, Rune Lord kobold.
Ooh. Yeah, the Heaven Scribe Kobold. Also, then you can dip into the Elemental Medicine.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. The Elemental Medicine looks really cool. Like, I wish I had more time to just make videos, honestly. I've been able to make a video every day this week. Honestly, not too terribly. I've been getting better and better at the process. Some of the videos I could have definitely done better on. Could have done more reading, but it's just, life goes on outside of the videos, so sometimes it's a bit of a scramble. I'll definitely be taking it a little bit slower starting next week, but there's so much content. So much content. I want to cover as much as that I have to cover. Do I want to play a little guy, or do I want to play a guy who has a little guy friend? Booter's doing
both.
Yep. In our Plague Watch game. It's gonna be great.
I'm playing a little Leshy guy, and he has an even littler Leshy guy as a familiar.
That's also one of the reasons why I think Leshies are just great as far as little guys are concerned, because they can do shit like that where they just be like, I just have another one of me. I planted the seed, and here's my little guy. It's my little mini-me in a pot.
This is not the first time I've played a character with a familiar that was just a smaller version of them. I only hope that
that's true. Yeah, I'll also
my Leshy familiar can hold a candle to Tiny Taxman.
Tiny Taxman. We'll never forget Tiny Taxman.
We will always forget Little Associate, though.
A little bit, yeah.
Maybe if Little Associate had a bit more administrative power, he would have been more appreciated.
Yeah.
A more valuable asset to the team.
Should call him Little Intern.
True.
Honestly, I made my cooking video today. The cooking stuff in the game are hype. I think it's severely underplayed how important cooking is in general. Cooking makes food taste better, but it also makes you better at having food on hand, preserving food, all kinds of stuff like that. Just the
disinfecting food,
but also the one thing that everyone who plays tabletop can relate to is food in some form or fashion. And so characters who are good at cooking and everything are just highly underutilized in TTRPGs. So I'm so excited to see the wandering chef and all the new food items they put into the game as well.
Me making my new character a full-on Tepan chef who just carries around the personal workshop or whatever. That's just a full cooking table that everyone could sit at and watch me do my tricks.
Yeah. I also have to say I absolutely love the ghost fowl porridge, because it's just we use every part of the chicken besides the feathers when it comes to cooking. And the image for it, which I used for the thumbnail, is just it looks like they're putting the soul of the chicken into the porridge. And I'm just yeah, if you love chicken, let's put the whole soul in that. That little guy's not getting away. Also, the item's just really, really good.
I mean, chicken soup, it is soul food.
It is soul food, so put the soul back in the food. But the item, it gives you a +2 circumstance bonus, or a +2 item bonus against being petrified. That's okay, it's whatever. Very niche. But it also just gives you resistance 3 to all physical damage for an hour. That's really good.
That's amazing. Does that stack with other resistances too?
No, resistance is always the highest.
Bummer.
Take the Papa ancestry and be the Swedish chef. Yes, that's perfect. be like, oh, hinga dinga ringa.
I don't know. Cam really hates silly characters. He comes for my throat whenever I play a silly character.
Yep, I hate it. Don't let my prior enthusiasm distract anyone. It was all a ploy. It's all a lie.
Cam, I'm about to play a serious character for you. I promise. I'm making a serious one this time, just for you.
You're making a serious character. I want to play a little guy with an even littler guy. Also, I have an afro made of lavender.
Yeah, that's serious.
I'm just saying, judging a book by its cover, I'm a little skeptical.
I'm a doctor, Cam. I went to medical school. I control fate.
I control fate. I love that. I control fate. That's the first thing you should have put on your resume, not the doctorate.
Hey, I didn't have to go to 8 years of schooling to be able to control fate. I just had to meet a giant tree or something.
To be honest, I've never played a funny character. I've always been a grumbly nerd or some variety. Lol, mainly Spellblades. I mean, the Gish lifestyle, you know, someone's got to live it, right?
Damn, why are you typing in your own chat?
For me personally, it's more like I'm someone who's like obsessed with perfecting themselves. I like me. I like who I am. But I definitely believe I can be better. Like, I've started a diet just recently. I'm going to be going to the gym soon. Also, I don't want to hurt myself when I pick up my daughter. So I would like to work on my body so I don't injure myself being a parent. And so when it comes to like TTRPGs, all characters are like things I like aspire towards or I'm interested in. Things I want to like perfect about myself or whatever. So that's also why I like playing humans, because I'm a human and I just want to play characters I see myself in. And so that's why I do it personally. Not that I haven't, and in fact, track record wise, I actually have not played a lot of humans, actually. To be honest, I'm a bit of a grumbly nerd IRL. I am king of the nerds. I'm the extroverted nerd. Do you heal people by drawing a pentagram? I don't know. Is that actually how the elemental healing works? There's like this massive it's very intimidating to look at, honestly. Oh, Elemental Sage. I think Elemental Sage is also really, really hype. Oh yes, and the fact that they added an EI sword magic item, also good. Weebs are eating good with this book. I'm very happy. Where are you, medicine? Let's see. Nope, it just seems like you have a bunch of tools that have like elemental aspects to them. They also added acupuncture as a feat you can select now. Which is very strange because what it does is you grant your ally a +1 circumstance bonus to 1 downtime activity skill check within the next week. Interesting. Ooh, energy fortification allows you to swap the medicine requirement to occultism instead. You can heal with occultism. Though, if you do it this way, the medicine you make with elemental medicine gives you 2 resistance to the elements of the medicine and 2 weakness based on the opposing elements. Interesting. Very, very cool stuff. A lot of very interesting things. I think there's a lot, and I'm very excited because we're getting more. We're getting another Magic book, which, by the way, be on the lookout for, because I think we might see some remaster changes for some of the classes, because it's very strange, and I understand the Paizo has to kind of like keep their lips sealed on a lot of things. But it's very strange that they're like, we're not really looking to do some of this remaster stuff for some of the other things at this time. And now we're like getting some remastered Guns and Gears stuff. And I really think we're going to get some remastered like Secrets of Magic stuff as well. I don't think we're going to get Dark Archive necessarily. I don't think there's really much to do there, but who knows? Honestly, there's a lot of people who just think that some classes are not great, which I don't agree with, but you know, here we are. So I don't know. We got a lot, and I definitely know in the coming months we're going to be getting a lot of stuff. Guns and Gears is getting a remaster since they're running out of prints, and it's a popular book, so they need to reprint it anyways. I mean, yeah, I don't know how much effort they want to put into it. Second half of Oracle remake and Divine Mysteries Hopium. Yeah, I understand that. Oracle was... It was just divisive. A lot of people like it, a lot of people don't like it. There's not really anything you can do to like fix that. It's just always gonna be that odd. Strange. So I'm looking at payment stuff. I think Paizo kind of missed when it came to the Oracle remaster. I don't think they preserved what people liked about Oracle, and they just kind of completely remade Oracle. So people who didn't like Oracle before now like the new Oracle, but people who liked old Oracle hate the new Oracle. Is that better? Is that worse? Is it more accessible? There's a lot of questions I feel like can't really be answered. Who do you think won the remastered? Swashbuckler. I feel like Swashbuckler is the one that came away with the best quality of life benefits overall. Alchemist was already good. I think Alchemist got better. But like Swashbuckler just feels like it did better. Like it's now just really good. It's now no longer as restricting. Your actions aren't quite as restricted as before. Freed up completely, and now like so many Devil May Cry character ideas came to mind when I saw the new remaster stuff. So I think Swashbuckler for sure. Alchemist feels good. I liked it before, but now like everyone can enjoy Alchemist more. So yeah, I definitely think that Player Core 2 was good. I feel like it was a little rushed, which I hate to say, but it does feel it. Especially when I've looked over a lot of the Tian stuff, and there's been little to any problems I've had with any of the design here. But Player Core 2, I just kept running into things, stubbing my toes on stuff here and there, which wasn't great. But hopefully now, with the remaster behind us, we can just move forward. Eventually, I'll stop putting remaster in all my video titles. And hopefully people now want to play Pathfinder now that the remaster is done. Because a lot of people weren't playing the game due to the fact that we are in the middle of the remaster. So, all I can say is Paizo's been making a lot of good choices. They've been making games that people have been playing, products people have been interested in, and a TTRPG that, so far, to me at the very least, is the top when it comes to medieval fantasy based, or even just fantasy based TTRPGs. I mean, to each their own, but design quality wise, how much they're able to put out, how much material we just have available, it's just hard to beat Paizo at this time, which is good, which is great. It's better than WotC, but at the same time, I hope we get some other companies that have some banger games. I want to see more games. I'm going to be talking about the Cosmere RPG soon here on the channel. I think Fabula Ultima is a really good game, and heck, I really, really like Lancer and Lancer content. So Tabletop's been eating really, really good, and I feel like we're only going to be eating better and better as the years go by as VTTs. I mean, you know, the funny thing is Roll20 moving to being able to be played on Discord has made it easier for some of my friends to play on Roll20 because the site just doesn't bog their computer down anymore, which I think is really, really good. We got some good stuff. And so as we're kind of closing out stream here for today, I'm going to go make some omi rice. Sorry, Booter. If only you lived closer, you could have some omi rice too.
Fuck you.
Yeah, so good.
I'll go make some Hot Pockets or something and show you.
Yeah, show me by making a Hot Pocket. See what I care. You know, Oi Man, I'm going to give my very controversial take and then we'll end stream. I think Spell Strike should be once per minute. I think Spell Strike is too good. I feel like make Spell Strike once per minute and give us another feature that's similar, or like lets us add magic to our strikes. That's the archetype law. Yeah, exactly. Because Spell Strike is too good. Not Spell Striking is choosing to do way less damage, and I'm okay with that most of the time, but in other places in Pathfinder where you have to make that decision, it's only like some damage difference. Spell striking is so efficient, it feels bad not spell striking. I felt that, my other players have felt that, and I think there's some better ways that I like. Honestly, if I just play another Magus, I'm probably just not gonna spell strike or do it like once in a while, because I feel like the class is way more fun if you're not spell striking all the time. Personally. Anyway, stay tuned on the channel, like, subscribe. We've been growing at a ridiculous rate. We are well on our way to 10K subscribers by the end of the year. We are just now 2,500 shy, and if any of the other books are as successful as these books have been, we'll easily hit those marks. So that's gonna be it for me. Thank you, Booter, so much for being here today.
Anytime.
And being at least a little something to help so I don't have to talk the entire time. And you know, hopefully Alex gets better soon. Hopefully we don't have another, you know, the Nurgle counter is surprisingly low for how late in the year it's been. Alex has gotten lucky so far, but Papa Nurgle is gonna take his favorite little boy back soon, I'm sure. Especially when the season starts getting colder out there. So we'll see. Not that I want him to be gone, I like having him here. But yeah, that's gonna be it for us. So thank you all so much for watching, and we'll say goodnight.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.